G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. Many women are seeing feminism for what it has become. However, they still do not see the truth behind feminism. We shall look today at a few red-pilled women and their comments on feminism. Now, I've explained to you before about female competition and that women who engage in toxic behavior do so to ruin other women so that ruin other women's lives so they think, right, by dragging other women down, it will elevate them. It will make more men available to them. See, the great feminist lie has never been about equality or voting. It's only about being abortion and divorce. What are the two things they protect? What are the most precious of their doctrine do they protect? If women got equality, they would be angry because they don't want to be treated like a man. They wanted to be treated like a queen. They wanted to be treated like the fictional Cleopatra. But if they found out how Cleopatra was really treated, they would be even angrier. And historically, looking back, there are reasons to be angry. However, the problem is not how all men treated women, but how the power, those in power, which included other women, treated women. See, the real enemy has never been the patriarchy, because if there was a patriarchy, you wouldn't have rights. You would have never gotten the vote. You would have been collectively punished for speaking out. Remember, during the witch trials, who were the biggest denouncers? Other women. You've been sold a false bill of goods, and a small number of women are waking up. But as some of you have noticed, they have only left the facade. They have not left the movement. And that is a good distinguish to make. Now, the other thing that must be distinguished is we're not talking about what feminism claims to be. It's the observed behavior of many, including Gloria Steinem, Jane Fonda, and many others, who gatekeep society and keep other women down. And this is where we get to Lauren. Lauren believes feminism is a lie. However, she does not believe that feminism is the issue. The problem is not what it was, it's what it is.
But what it's turned into, feminism is not the issue, but what it's turned into is. The original fight was for equality. Votes, jobs, and just mutual respect. But somewhere along the way, equality morphed into superiority. Now, women are told, you don't need a man. Depending on him, it makes you weak. Be soft and nurturing. That's betrayal. Femininity was never weakness. But when women started trying to outman men, The polarity disappeared. No push, no pull, no leadership, no trust, just two people fighting for control, wondering why the attraction is dead. Men aren't disgusted by women. They're disgusted by the distortion, the constant anger, the victimhood, the competition. Masculine energy in women is repulsive to high-value masculine men. It just doesn't work. Real men don't want to battle their woman. They want to build with her. They want the woman who can lead her own ambitions and still soften in his arms at night, because strength and softness can still coexist. It should be able to. Masculine energy brings structure, protection, and direction. Feminine energy brings warmth, intuition, and life. You remove one, you get chaos. You fake one, and you get resentment. Feminism wasn't freedom. It was a tax scam. Shove women into offices, twice the work, twice the cash for Uncle Sam, pump up her paychecks, sell her cars, daycare, happy pills, then throw the kids in a brainwash center, aka schools, while mom and dad grind 60-hour weeks, too wiped to see the family's actually been robbed. The goal was never to dominate each other. It was to balance each other out, to make each other better. When masculine and feminine move in harmony, your love thrives and legacies last lifetimes.
See, she almost gets it. She gets most of it. But what she does not get, it was about abortion. It was about control. It was about robbing the man of all accumulated wealth so that the middle class would not be a threat, because the upper classes see the growing middle class as a threat, because the growing middle class could vote against the rich interest, and the rich interest is to turn everything into a commodity, to own every home, to own every school, to own everything and make you work endlessly for them, because their greed never ends. Once they cross the threshold of ownership, right? What it used to be a millionaire. Once you were a millionaire, you were secure because you could have a business and almost guaranteed. But what happened? The boomers started pulling up the ladder. And as they started pulling up the ladder, they increased, taxes. They forced kids into schooling, where kids used to be educated at home. They introduced impossible standards testing. And you do hear from minority communities, the workload is too much for them. Well, white kids have the same problem, but they don't speak up as much. A lot of us ditched half our schoolwork and didn't care that we failed half our subjects. How many of you even cared about geography or passing that obscure subject you did once, or on fine arts or anything, right? Sure, there were some of us who did, but she's failed to understand that, it was not so much the government, it was those who control the government. The modern bankers, the corruption. Now remember, it was women who sold you feminism. Look at all your top feminist organizations. Look at all your top feminists. They're not just multimillionaires. They are in the tens, hundreds, and sometimes billionaires. Or they're often married to billionaires.
Sold us the biggest scam of our generation. They told us we were empowered. But what did we actually get? Burnout, debt, stress, a double life where we work like men and still carry the entire home on our backs. And here's the truth nobody's talking about. Feminism didn't set women free. It trapped us in a masculine system that we were never designed for. They told us to compete with men, to lead like men, to talk, think, act like men, and now we're exhausted, we're disconnected, resentful, and wondering why nothing feels right. We don't need more feminism. We need to reclaim the femininity that was stolen from us, because that's where a woman's real power has always been. In softness, in harmony, emotional intelligence, intuition, influence, not in becoming a copy of the men we were created to complement. If you want to break free from this conditioning and learn how to step back into your feminine design, the design that brings peace, love, protection, and real freedom, that's exactly what I teach inside the Feminine Reset. Click the...
All right. So, women are walking away, and there are now women cashing in on that. I don't blame her. If I was a woman, I would exactly be doing the same thing. Life coaching other women to walk away. MGTOW's quite different. But yes, now we have women who actually understand that it was all about creating more taxpayers, but it was also about destroying the middle class, because the powers that be, the Hassan Pikers of the world, remember, they're all come, AOC, Hassan Piker, they all come from upper middle class or millionaire class, because the upper middle class are the low millionaires now. It's not the almost millionaires. No, the upper middle class, right, stretches from people on six figures up, right? Does not talk about assets. The billionaires are the asset class, right? There's almost no, right? There's people from, say, 10 million up are the asset class, okay? They have assets enough that their income is in the millions, okay? Whereas someone, say, around worth 5 million, their taxes, their property taxes alone are in the millions. So they're still falling short. Now, the thing is, as the modern economy continues to move, more and more people are finding their assets are worthless. So they're actually, the number of people who have spent millions, right, buying and accumulating wealth, to only now find that even the shares, they can't get enough shares, right? They've got all these shares and still their income isn't enough. You can't live the millionaire lifestyle. You can't live like Riley. You cannot live like any Hollywood actor. You literally do not understand that Hollywood sold you a false lifestyle, believing you can smoke cigars every day, drink expensive port. Most of there are a recent interview. I would love to find it, where Arnold Schwarzenegger admitted he rarely smokes a cigar. He says they're too expensive. Yeah, the finer the more something costs, the less you consume it. Okay? And you find life will be so much grander. But yeah, feminism didn't set women free. It imprisoned men. It's called the debt trap. And women of all ages, including old feminists, are walking away.
Levelling the playing field, giving women an opportunity to find their rightful place, particularly in the public world, which was tremendously important and exciting when we achieved that. But what feminism today, to me, is all about advantaging women at the expense of men. And it's become very much caught up in the demonisation of males, presenting them always at a disadvantage. And I don't want to have any part of that. I was writing recently about boys' education, which is something I've written about for many decades. And I came across an article I wrote 40 years ago where we just started to notice how badly boys were doing vis-a-vis girls. I mean, we'd had 10 years of programs trying to help girls do better in the schools, which was fantastic. And a lot of girls who had been held back by traditional assumptions about, girls not speaking up and girls not doing well in maths were now beginning to shine, which was a fantastic thing. But what was becoming very obvious is there were also a lot of boys falling behind and not achieving their potential. We have really very much feminist ideology infiltrating all our education systems, systematic programs to continue to advantage girls, and no one taking any notice of the fact that boys are falling out in huge numbers. I was a feminist when feminism was about equality.
Yeah, because most of your school teachers are women, most of your school teachers are indoctrinated in college, and they take that college indoctrination mindset where we're creating a better world. What's wrong with that? They have excuse after excuse, and they have a mindset to be so indoctrinated. They will literally tell you to your face what a wonderful President Biden was, and he was a statesman who made glorious speeches. And he was liked by everybody. Yeah, telling people what they want to hear and doing what others want. Yes, that makes bad people like you. That's the problem with the world. They don't want to do the right thing. They want to be pleased. They want to be happy. They want others to like them. And ultimately, modern feminism is running into the point where they don't want equality. They want opportunity that only suits them. Notice when some of the feminists I cover, Imani F. She's always talking about men as XYs, and she doesn't get into trouble. Why? Because the whole Marxist system of protected class only applies to men. Women, who make up 51% of the population, are protected, and allegedly is a minority. And in fact, women are more protected than minorities.
Femininity cannot coexist because they represent two complete opposites. Feminism is competitive, ruthless, anti-family, and anti-man. Femininity is supportive, warm, pro-family, and pro-man. So what's it gonna be, ladies? Because you can't have your cake and eat it too.
More women are burning out by 35, not from relationships, but from the workplace, their gym routines. They can't keep up with their gym routines for an hour. You imagine, you look at the workplace now, could you imagine if 50% of plumbers were women instead of 3%? Or 50% of construction workers were women instead of 8%? It's actually fallen. Women are dropping out of high competitive jobs. Very few women are truck drivers, and those who are tend to be just as socially distant, awkward, and isolationist as... Because it suits them, right? As can be, right? It suits them. So there is a few occasions where women with toxic personality are choosing jobs where they can be isolated and away and not deal with others. But those jobs are few and far between. Most truck drivers are decent, hard-working men. But you see, time and time again, women rocking up with trucks, asking where all the men are at to unload their truck, and women not even learning the basics or not even paying attention to basic safety, assuming that they can lift the same as men. No, women on average can only lift 75% of what a man can. Some women can only run between 50 to 60% that of a man. Women tennis players want to be paid more, even though they do 3 sets compared to men's 5 sets. The WNBA brings in less money, yet they want to be paid the same as men who score more and bring in more points and literally play the game faster and literally longer. Because you see how much standing around is done in the WNBA, you'll get what I mean. It's not about the game time, it's about how much activity they have on the court. Now, you can have the WNBA work better. It just has to appeal to a wider audience. It's not doing that because the players don't appeal to the audience. Feminism has turned women of a competitive nature into believing to be fully competitive, they have to be toxic. And a lot of women just can't accept that. And they are because they are unable to make any change because women in power don't listen to them, right? This is why they're turning to TikTok, okay? They are starting to form new social groups around the concept of femininity and even about taking care of their sons. There are women's forums groups now about raising boys, raising healthy boys. And at first, a lot of people thought this was just another feminist group until they realizing how they want to make their sons successful in life. Okay, they want their sons to succeed. And yes, a lot of women are telling their sons not to get married, not to fool around, not to have children out of wedlock, not to marry someone unless they really know them, and even then, you protect your assets. But she gets it a little more than others. So don't think just because someone dresses like a ditz, it's often a act, okay?
That feminism is a political movement. Do you know that? I will never forgive 2010's girl boss feminism, liberal feminism, for what it did to feminism as a movement, because, oh my god, we are never, ever, ever making it out of the patriarchy. Ever. I got a comment that I can no longer find saying, you guys are making too many rules to being a feminist. There are rules. It's a political movement. Feminism is a political movement. Okay? It's a political ideology and a freedom movement that has rules. And it has theory and it has stuff that you need to know about if you want to call yourself a feminist. Feminism isn't something that happens to you because you're a woman.
Right there. You have pre-2010 feminism and post-2010 feminism. And post-2010 feminism, as I have covered in many videos, are a cluster of toxic man-haters and have done irreparable harm to women, not just the ideology. The ideology of feminism I call window dressing. They have no intention of solving problems because if the problems go away in society, right, the rich can't sell you the solutions, okay? If women learnt at an early age to balance their work life and take responsibility for their actions and raise their children and realize that they could take advantage of their longer lifespan to raise children, and as they get older, their husband and children will take care of them, and they will retire wealthier and happier. Then the problem is that they got this mindset of bigger numbers rather than what's the difference between a million, a billion, and a trillion when you do nothing with it? Right? When you have all these shoes, when you have all this jewelry, and you have all this perfume and makeup, and you're an old lady, and you will find out none of that means nothing, and you will sit the rest of your life thinking, I wish I did things differently. Well, women for decades have been telling their daughters and that they wish did something differently. But what happened? Feminism were having less and less children. So they, instead of passing on their knowledge, they created they go protesting every weekend. And they keep creating these problems like no kings. They keep creating these causes to protect the brown people, to protect the migrant. You know, they always reframe something. And Orwell told us about this, warned us how the left will reframe everything, including socialism. I think he was talking about feminism. If you look at 1984, the Anti-Sex League, the corruption of the party is always right. We're not socialist. Well, yeah. Well, you are. It's like saying that fascism is right-wing. No. How is socialism right-wing? No. It's like feminism. It's another form of collectivism. It's a political movement. That means it's left-wing. You know, the founders originally wanted no political parties. Sorry, I'm to America. Your founders didn't want political parties. They thought political parties were a collective, and collectives were a threat to the state. However, because they could not split the vote or put it to the vote, they said they thought Federalist Papers, they only published some of them and locked away the rest. We don't know what happened to them. Some, you know, it's the same with the minutes and notes of a lot of meetings about the founding of America. All the different ideas that we could explore even today. You know, people thought, oh no, every generation will understand liberalism. No, we do. That's the problem. I know it's a great insult, but many people still don't understand liberalism. Liberalism is about ruling by academic debate, and whoever's the most manipulative wins. Not who's correct, not who's right, not who has done the best job. It is who the most manipulative, and that is what feminism is.
Okay, it's a choice. It's a choice that you have to make to be a feminist in a patriarchal society. It's not something that just happens to you.
It's not a patriarchal society. If there was a patriarchy, men would not go to divorce court and lose everything. Right? You just don't lose the 50%. You lose your family. You have to sell your house. You have no choice. Often the costs and the burden and the debt takes it all anyway. And what's left goes... Yeah, so often they don't split the bills. Now, there are those who try to split the bills, but again, they talk about rights. What rights do men have that women don't? Women have more rights. They have, and again, you're mistaking rights for privileges, and you have a lot of privileges in this society. And you want more. You want to... Women are complaining about the death of chivalry, but you wanted equal rights. No. That's not what I meant by equal rights. See what happens every time. This is what's happening in Korea. This is what's happened in Japan. Japan has been fighting this for 30 years silently. Men have been walking away. That's why their population is in decline. They can't stand. They get married. They have a happy family one day, and the next day she's gone with the kid, and the state is telling you she has her rights, and the state's taking your house and everything. No, and literally they call it slaughtering the pig, where women are learning how to fatten a man, learning to marry salary men, to fatten him up, to push him to the maximum pinnacle of his career, and then take everything, right? To shave off his salary every month, put it away in a private account, never bring it up, never mention it, to hide assets, right? To make sure that any contributions you make they keep diaries, and they start arguments. And then one day they're just gone. and suddenly in court you're an abuser, you don't take out the trash. You might have only done it once, but she's diaried everything. And that's as far as the court size, that's evidence. So you can make stuff up. But women can have all their friends back them up. They have organisations to back them up. So how is this a patriarchy?
To be a feminist, you have to make feminist choices. You have to think feminist things. You have to analyse things through.
That is what a collective does. It creates a herd. And the herd is ruled by a queen. And the queen sets the rules so that she can sell you feminist books, have you go to feminist rallies, to have you fundraise for feminist causes, to literally milk you for everything you've got, including your free time, to support her career. And you look at this. What is Mackenzie Bezos? What is Jodie at Code Pink? What is Jane Fonda? Jane Fonda and her workout videos. Jane Fonda and her all these rallies, right? Someone has to pay for all these signs, right? All these feminist organisations and all these marches brought to you by, Code Pink and what's the other big one? I'm trying to think of it, and it's on the tip of my tongue. And once you see it, once you see the money machine behind Code Pink and the others, these are all LARPers who go on poverty holidays to Cuba, Venezuela. Tell me, out of the 23 million Code Pink raised last year, no, 24, right? 23 to 24, they raised over 23 million. They spent 6.9 just on trips to Paris. Yeah, climate change, the climate group. They're not Greenpeace anymore. Climate action. So, climate action. Paid Greta Thunberg $10 million. Bought her a yacht, a multi-million-dollar yacht. They've flown her around the world multiple times. She's almost living in and out of airports, and she has a little pajama parties at Copenhagen Airport. She flies in her pajamas in first class. There's no decorum. There's no morality. It's all privilege, and it's all a grift.
Feminist lens. If you're not doing any of that, you're not a feminist.
Because you are not making them money. It's all about money and power.
If you think that you're a feminist just because you think that women and men are equal, great, that's a start.
But we're not. Venus Williams was beaten by a 14-year-old boy. You're not equal. Accept it. Now, same with rights under the law. Foreigners should not have rights under the law other than the basic right. They have no right to work, right? They should have no right to welfare. They should not have the presumption of innocence. If someone crosses your border illegally they are not a refugee. Unless they're coming out of a war zone, they're not a refugee. If they've crossed 14 countries, they're a welfare seeker. And the UN are putting people on planes using your tax money, right? And saying, they want now feminist refugees, putting women on planes to save them from rape gangs. So they're depopulating countries, so they're rewarding the invader. They want to send rape victims to other countries for their protection because they won't protect them. And yet feminism votes again and again for this. So tell me, what are they protecting? They're not protecting your rights. They're not protecting your body autonomy. No.
If you're constantly making anti-feminist choices, if you're saying...
No, your anti-feminist choice is thinking. If you think for yourself, the group starts to panic because you're no longer supporting the herd. The herd is marrying the herd, right? They are looking for emotional, physical, mental, and support. They are looking for a justification for their, so that they can engage, right? They still hold on, right? Even if they could go for decades without marriage, they still hold on. Then they're going to find someone to use and abuse. And increasingly, they're not. Increasingly, they're finding out that they're the victim. They end up getting used and abused. But they're too proud to tell you. Right? It's like a cat. Cat will walk up to you and tap you on the leg when it's hungry. It won't beg. They're not. Recently, there was a story in the Indian Times. A Bengal tiger had come into a village and sat in the middle of the village. Everybody was afraid, but a man came out and patted it and fed it, and it went back into the forest. Animals are starving in India. There's a lack of food. Right? There's a lack of wildlife. There's a lack of hunting has wiped out most of Indians' wildlife. And now what's left? Elephants, tigers, even rats are begging humans to save them. Feminists have no idea because they always mask everything behind the patriarchy. Women use indirect aggression, competitive degradation, self-promotion, social exclusion, and other manipulation tactics including sabotage, such as providing disingenuous advice, particularly for romantic contexts. And they engage in what's called mate manipulation. That is telling men, right, that she's no good, all these women are telling you don't need no man. Most of them have secret relationships. Most of them have secret families. I'm not saying she does. I'm saying she's a victim and she's speaking out. But she doesn't understand why she's a victim and what the consequences, long-term consequences of her actions are. Because she can't see them, because she's not part of the decision process. That's exactly what this kleptocracy, plutocracy wants, where the workers are the pillars, the middle class is squashed under, right? They get the workers to destroy the middle class to support the Amazons of the world, to buy the cheapest, the Walmarts, the Amazons, put all your mum and pops out of business, right? And they do that mostly through divorce, unfair rules of competition, unfair government subsidies, unfair government contracts that subsidise businesses. And feminism along the way, they get their subsidies too. And they're starting to decrease. The governments no longer need you. Once they have all the power and wealth, once they've got their way, they don't need you. And women are left what? Well, that's it? We work 40 years for nothing? Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Even the architect of the feminist society in Denmark has come out and spoken out about it. That it's just a kleptocracy. And what these organisations increasingly do is women use their husbands as the fall guy. So Bernie Sanders, whining about the millionaires and billionaires, becomes a multi-millionaire and stops complaining about the millionaires. Again, it's always the same story. People who can't be told they're wrong. People who believe absolutely in the power of their words. And unless you can persuade people, and this is why so many people are panicking, because the influences of this world, more and more people are waking up and realizing that the influences of this world are artificial. And that kids have been manipulated into watching them by keep getting told, they're your voice. They're not your voice. You are your voice. They, the Logan Pauls, the Jane Fondas, the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders, the Hassan Pikers of this world, represent the billionaire class. Not even the billionaire class, the asset class, the people who have, right? And of course, they all LARP socialism, right? They all dress in their, you see all these women in their pink tracksuits. Yet you notice there's no sweat, there's no dirt, there's no wear and tear. Everything's new and only worn once.
Misogynistic things, you are not a feminist, and
you're not a feminist if you think, man, you are engaged in negative thinking.
You are bringing the movement down. Would you call
the movement brings itself down with negative thinking?
Yourself a Marxist if you hadn't read Marx? No, because that would be stupid. Why would you call yourself a feminist if you have not touched a single piece of feminist literature in your life?
Marxism is not feminism, but feminism has taken over Marxism. So you can see from the bat, she is, unfortunately, while she's half awake, she's not all there. But feminism is not about equality. And I should qualify that by saying fifth wave or 2010 feminism or liberal feminism is about Marxism. And that it is a betrayal, that all they want is to turn you into a product factory so they can milk all your labour. That's why they don't want you to have kids, so that they are the only ones left and they have all their assets, and because they don't care what happens after they die. Right? Most of them most of the millionaires and billionaires don't have kids. They're double incomes. A lot of them are old women who have dead family lines, dead families. All this idea of old money. To them, everything's just a competition to the end. And increasingly, they keep talking about nihilism. They've become they've reached a point where they're so bored with life, they're nihilistic. And yeah, actually hating men is man-centric. Why do you think man-hating is needed? There is no patriarchy. And then somehow being forced to wear hijab doesn't make you any less of a feminist. See, that's how ignorant they are. They cannot bring themselves to tell the truth about this world. And that's not true. If it was about feminism, liberation from the patriarchy doesn't exist. Because if it did, it would never set you free. And if you were set free, then why do you need feminism?
Every day for the past 30 years, you high-heeled pit bulls have blamed us for everything. From not being able to get into Harvard to not being able to get into stretch pants.
And now they're blaming us for feminism. So that's what this last one really is doing. Feminism has rules now. You can't bring yourself to it. All you got to do is just round and round the patriarchy. Well, if you can't forgive liberal feminism, get rid of the... Look at her though. She's done up in new clothes. Expensive nose ring, expensive jewelry, makeup. Yeah. No. Until we can have an honest discussion about toxic behavior, about the tools and tactics of manipulation, because the more people know about indirect aggression, competitive degradation, self-promotion, and other manipulation tactics to... because it's all about resource acquisition, right? Big companies, they advertise. They spend lots of money on advertising. And more advertising. Look how much Facebook makes. Social media does not serve your interests. Right? YouTube does not serve you. It serves Google. The CEO of YouTube has made it quite clear that it wants to be the biggest streaming platform. They never said, right, that they will anything about small content creators. And quietly, they do nothing for small content creators. They don't even promote small content creators. And social media. Get a social media tracker and see where you are. Nowhere. Nothing. There's so much no point to being in social media on social media anymore. Those few who make it are selected by those above them. It's not a meritocracy. And that is ultimately what feminism has done to society. Removed meritocracy. So this is why things stagnate and go to waste. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Please support the channel and support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video and bye for now.